What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews. We've got a massive slate on the NBA today. I spent the last 4 hours researching. I'm going to show you what I found. If that sounds interesting, let's go.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to you live from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice on the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.
Before we get into the picks, quick recap on yesterday. We lost on Evan Mobley to make 2 3-pointers. My dumbass bet on him again, and he cooked me. He was 0 from 2 today. Too scared to shoot. He missed all his 3-pointers. He missed all of his free throws. The Evan Mobley experience. The read wasn't overly bad. Well, it was because we bet on the wrong guy, but the matchup was perfect. Larry Nance Jr., Thomas Bryant, they combined for 16 minutes off the bench. They made 2 3-pointers combined. Bloody Evan Mobley, but I made the decision. My fault, but damn, he cooked me again. RJ Barrett to go over his assists with LeBron to go over his. La Sunshine brings it home. He respects coin, but RJ Barrett, he got injured, but I'm not blaming the injury. He wasn't looking good for it anyway, so that was a poor read from my part. And my favorite play of the day, which was Jaylen Brown to score some points. He got that 30 ball I told you he was going to deliver. So that system continues to print. There's a lot of games. Like I said, I spent hours and hours and hours looking at the slate. There are a few obvious plays that I haven't taken, but I'll take you through those as well because they look great in my opinion, but I've been betting on obvious plays bloody for weeks now, and they seem to blow up in my face. But I'll take you through that, but I'll also take you through my favorite plays. Let's do it. First off, shout out to PropsMadness, the best tool you're going to find if you like betting on player props. You get a discount if you use my code. I've got a link for it down below in the video description. Go ahead and check it out. Now let's talk about these plays. We'll hit them with the ones that I'm most excited about and feel most confident about. And that means nothing because if I feel good about it, it doesn't mean it's got a better chance of winning. But let's take it from the top. I'm looking at this Battle of Brooklyn, the Knicks versus the Nets. I'm rolling with Mikal Bridges today. I love his over 15.5 points. Now, Bridges over this line in 9 out of 15 games, averaging 16.3 points per game this season. His last 3 games have been okay, 23, 16, and 18 points. I love this look for Mikal Bridges for 2 reasons. The first reason is that he has the best matchup you're going to find for any player on the slate today. Well, one of, but check this shit out. So we're talking about Mikal Bridges and his points. Mikal Bridges scores 45% of his points as a spot-up shooter, 32% of his points in transition. My basic mathematics tells me that 77% of his points are scored from 2 different play types. The Brooklyn Nets rank dead last to both of them. Most points to spot-up shooters, most points allowed in transition. So the matchup is an excellent one. His last matchup against Brooklyn, it was a 36-point blowout. He finished with 16 points, but he only shot the ball 8 times. But very efficient 8 shots here from Mikal Bridges. And I expect things to be a little bit different now. One, OG Anunoby's out. OG's been out for the last 3 games. And in those 3 games, Bridges, 23 from 14 shots, 16 points from 13 shots, and then 11 shots here against the Orlando Magic, scoring 18 points. So he's been an efficient scorer for a large part of his career, takes good shots, makes them. But I like his opportunity for volume here. Now, the reason I want to call that out, we spoke about how good the matchup is against Brooklyn, right? Terrible transition defense, terrible at spot-up defense. The last 2 games that he's played have been awful matchups for Mikal Bridges. I'm honestly surprised he was able to cover his line in those games. If we use these filters and we look at DPT, which is spot-up, right? Against Miami, he cooked them with 23 points because it's a good matchup for him and no OG. Makes sense. Dallas, they allow the fewest points to spot-up shooters in the league, and the Orlando Magic, 3rd fewest points to spot-up shooters, right? So both of those awful matchups. And then if we look at how these teams defend in transition, the Dallas Mavericks, 6th fewest points in transition, and the Orlando Magic, 5th fewest points in transition. Whereas the Brooklyn Nets are the complete opposite to that. Most spot-up points, most transition points allowed. Cupcake matchup for Bridges. So even in difficult matchups without OG, he's managed to cover this line and he's had some pretty decent volume. If we get both of those things, decent volume in a really soft matchup, it could be a match made in heaven. Now, I'd say not the only, but the key risk in this game is a blowout. We've got a 14-point spread. It is Brooklyn. But I will say this is a road game. The Knicks haven't been good on the road so far this season. Oftentimes, these games are close. If this game is close, Mikal Bridges is going to play close to 40 minutes. He runs up a lot of court time. He sees more shots, more opportunities in an ideal matchup. I would not be surprised if Mikal Bridges drops a 20 ball today on these Brooklyn Nets. The other thing I'll call out is you still have to deal with the usage rate of Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Jalen Brunson is one of the most popular players of the day to bet he's under in points. That's because of how the Brooklyn Nets play defense. I've said this many times before. The Brooklyn Nets put a lot of pressure on lead guards. If anything, they're going to double team Brunson often. They're going to get the ball out of his hands, which is going to open things up for Mikal Bridges. So the popular play of the day is Jalen Brunson unders. I'm pivoting from that and taking Mikal Bridges overs for very much of the same reasons. Jalen Brunson is going to see a lot of double teams. They're going to blitz him. They're going to get the ball out of his hands. Karl Anthony Towns does have a great matchup. Karl Anthony Towns performed very well against Brooklyn last time because he saw more opportunities with Brunson being double teamed so often. But Karl Anthony Towns is not going to score 60 points. I say that next minute, 60 points for Karl Anthony Towns. But they're going to need more than just Karl Anthony Towns points here to keep them competitive in this game. And I think Mikal Bridges is that guy. So many reasons for me to love Mikal Bridges today. And I've just shared those with you. So that, I would say, is my most arousing play of the day. I was really pumped to find that. I think 15.5 is too low a line given everything I've just shared with you. But there are some other plays that I do like. The other play that I've got down is for Khalil Ware. Now, the Ware Bear, I think I told you guys last time against, I think it was in yesterday's video. I was like, match up against Philadelphia, Khalil Ware rebounds could be a good look. And I obviously didn't take it because I'm a dirtbag, but he had 20 points and 16 rebounds against Philly. Line was at 9.5. I'm not letting that happen again. I'm actually betting he's over 9.5 rebounds. You can see it here. He's over this line in 9 out of 10 games. He's been rebounding like an absolute monster. If you look at those last 10 games, he's averaging 13.4 rebounds. His only under was against the Charlotte Hornets. And the Charlotte Hornets actually allowed the second fewest rebounds in the league. So toughest matchup he's had to face in his last 10, and he struggled within that. He's up against the Dallas Mavericks today. They allow the third most rebounds in the league, third most offensive rebounds, second most defensive rebounds. So Khalil Ware, every chance to continue on this wonderful trend, pumping the rebounds out. Now, one other thing I considered and went down the rabbit hole with was, yeah, but what about Bam Adebayo? Bam Adebayo is back. Tyler Hero's back. Khalil Ware might be off the bench, and all that is true. Firstly, if we talk about games with Bam Adebayo, check this out. His last 4 games with Bam Adebayo, 13, 16, 14, and 16 rebounds. I think they've really figured out the rotations and how they're supposed to play together. Khalil Ware dominating in those games with Bam Adebayo as of late, especially since Bam came back from injuries. Khalil Ware has out-rebounded Bam Adebayo in every single game. Now, Khalil Ware does start off the bench for this game. Doesn't bother me too much because the Mavs still missing Davis. Derek Lively is out for this one. They only have Daniel Gafford as their true big. If Khalil Ware plays off the bench, he's going to play a lot of those non-Gafford minutes, and he's going to have a massive advantage anyway. So Khalil Ware should absolutely beast it. Now, Tyler Hero should be back, and if he is, I don't think that changes things too much for Khalil Ware. Andrew Wiggins, if Andrew Wiggins is out, they probably start Khalil Ware and they give him some more minutes. So that's not such a bad thing either. But this matchup is just fantastic. Khalil Ware is playing out of his mind. It seems pretty good to me. So I'm betting on Khalil Ware to get 10 boards. If you want some extra money on that, you could do a double-double, for example. So pretty much looking for over points, over rebounds as well. And the next play that I have for you is one player that's really pissed me off as of late because I just can't seem to get him right. And I'm going back to a Raptors game. I love punishment, I guess, but I'm rolling with Scotty Barnes, and I'm taking Scotty Barnes for his points and rebounds, over 26.5 points and rebounds. Now, he's only hit this in 6 out of 17 games this season. Normally, if I just quickly looked at this, I would not even consider it, but I promised myself that I would dive a little bit deeper today. My performance hasn't been great, so I was like, I need to go deeper and look harder, not look harder for plays, but just to make sure I'm considering all the different angles. And I'm liking Scotty Barnes here, 26.5 for a couple of reasons. The first one is no RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett's doubtful to play in this game. Hurt his knee in the last game. Obviously, he didn't get us our assists, but with no RJ Barrett, I've looked at the numbers this season, and Scotty Barnes sees the biggest increase. I think he sees like a 7% increase in his usage rate. His rebound rate goes up by like 3 or 4 rebounds. this is all the minutes with RJ Barrett off the court. Scotty Barnes seems to be the biggest recipient. He scores more, he rebounds more, he does everything more. He probably even smiles more. But Scotty Barnes sees a massive lift without RJ Barrett. That's the first thing that I like about this play. The second play is the matchup is fantastic here against Cleveland. Like, they've got Jared Allen might be coming back, but that doesn't bother me because Scotty Barnes loves this matchup with Evan Mobley. Went back, watched some tape, and I was just like stunned with how strong Scotty Barnes is compared to Evan Mobley. Like, he's just running through his chest, out muscling him for rebounds, just absolutely killing him in transition. He can't be stopped. He's taking Mobley into the post. Yeah. Look, 2 games against Cleveland so far this season. First game, he had 14 points, 10 rebounds, wasn't overly aggressive trying to score, and it was working. The Raptors ended up winning that game anyway. The second game, they won that game as well, but Scotty Barnes was clearly more aggressive in this one, scored 28 points, had 10 rebounds. So he's had 10 rebounds in both games against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and a lot of this was the Evan Mobley matchup. He had no fear, just kept taking him on one-on-one. The fact is the Cleveland Cavaliers have Evan Mobley, so they don't double team. They're like, Evan Mobley is a good defender. Let Evan Mobley play one-on-one. And they don't send help. So Scotty Barnes gets to work in a lot of isolation sets here. He can work and get mismatches in pick and rolls and then take guys into the block. Like, looking at this last game where he took 22 shots, he missed like 6 or 7 really easy shots. He easily should have scored 30 in that game. So looking for Scotty to maintain his aggressiveness. He's got all the reason in the world to do so with no RJ Barrett. This is a home game, 2-point spread, pretty high total as well. It's going to be tight. And RJ Barrett, they're missing about 15 to 20 points. They got to get it from somewhere. And I think, well, all the numbers tell me that Scotty's the guy. Like, the minutes without RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram doesn't see an increase in anything. Emmanuel quickly sees a marginal increase in a few places, whereas Scotty Barnes is obviously seeing big lifts in his usage, his points, his rebounds, like everything goes up for Scotty. And he's got a really good matchup here against Cleveland. Like, Cleveland give up a lot of points to spot up shooters, and he didn't even shoot well in these spot up sets against Cleveland. He was 1 from 4 from the 3-point land in both of these games. So there could be some improvement from his shots from downtown. There's just a lot of reasons for me to like it. But if you have any hesitations on betting on Scotty Barnes to score points, you might want to pivot to just taking over 7.5 rebounds. He had 10 rebounds in both games against Cleveland. He's often beating Evan Mobley on the glass. So great. Yeah, great look here for Scotty Barnes. As much as he pisses me off because I haven't been able to get him right yet, that just makes so much sense to bet he's over today. Just putting my emotions aside, whether he wins or loses today, I still hate Scotty Barnes. He pisses me off. But all of it makes sense. Betting without emotion, taking Scotty Barnes to get some points and rebounds. The last play that I've got for you is, where is it? Houston versus Phoenix. Yes. Now, big news. Kevin Durant is out for this game. Would have been a great revenge spot. But he's out for some personal reasons. I think he's going to miss the next 2 games. Steven Adams is questionable. Tari Eason, he's out as well. So Houston are going to be missing a few bodies, which means this game should be tight. We've got a 5.5-point spread. The Phoenix Suns, I know I've called them a really shit team before, and that was early in the season when they were really shit. But the Phoenix Suns have been playing really good basketball as of late. Defensively, they've been okay. And I think they can hang with Houston in this one. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be a tight game. And what I love about that is Şengün in tight games sees a lot of minutes. Firstly, what the hell am I betting on? I'm betting on his over 16.5 rebounds and assists. Now, he's over this line in 11 out of 14 games, averaging 17.3. Now, in a lot of these games, he didn't see that many minutes because the Rockets have blown out a lot of teams. But I looked at games that were decided by 10 points or less. Alperen Şengün averages 40 minutes per game when the game's decided by 10 points or less. So if it's close, he's going to see a whole lot of time. So let's look at games where he plays more than 36 minutes. Let's get rid of this overtime game by reducing this filter down to 42. He's over this line in 5 out of 7, averaging 16.3. Now, these 2 games, under against Detroit Pistons, tough matchup, banging with Jalen Duren down low. And then the most recent game, when he came up against his daddy, Nikola Jokic, he only had 5 rebounds and 6 assists. He did have 15 rebound chances and 14 potential assists, though. And he seems to average those type of numbers in almost every single game. So the rebound opportunities and the assist potential is always going to be there with Alperen Şengün. I looked at the numbers with Kevin Durant off the court, Tari Eason off the court. Şengün sees a 5% increase to his usage rate as well. So he's going to see more ball, more opportunity. This Rockets team definitely needs some points with no KD out there. Reed Shepherd is the person who's seen the biggest bump in his points line, 17.5 for Reed, but his matchup's not necessarily great. I think they're going to be running everything they possibly can through Alper and Shangoon. I considered just taking his PRA for him to do absolutely everything. Shangoon with big minutes, done a decent job against his PRA. Considered that, but this could be a game where he mucks around and gets a triple double. Who knows with the usage rate he's going to see? I'd say this was a safer play for Alper and Shangoon just to take the rebounds and assists because he's pretty much done it in every single game. Now we catch a game against the Phoenix Suns, 12th most rebounds and assists to centers so far in this season. But we also catch a game where Shangoon is going to play at least 36 to 37 minutes here. This game should be close. Betting on the Turkish Delight today. So it's Alperen Şengün. So those are the 4 players that I got down already. But I did want to take you through the most popular players, in my opinion, because these took in 30 seconds, you could find these players. They're that obvious. They're probably going to have some public steam behind it, but let me talk you through it. And I wouldn't be surprised if these lines already moved a lot. So the first one, Detroit versus the Pacers, would be Jalen Duren, and you'd be looking at his points and his rebound. Yeah, and it has moved. So when I was looking at this, it was 30.5, I believe. It opened at 29.5, and right now, as I record this, it's 31.5, and it probably even closes higher than that. This Pacers team just get pumped by bigs. They allow the 6th most points and rebounds to centers. Centers have been flogging them all season. Jalen Duren himself, he had 31 points and 15 rebounds the last time he versed the Pacers, and he only played 29 minutes. He's projected to play 29 minutes again. The 76ers, the Pistons are getting close to full strength as well. So, but even if we look at games with Jalen Duren, let's just say between 25 and 32 minutes, even 22 to 32 minutes, he's still over this line in 5 out of 6. He's absolutely monstered a lot of these teams in less than 30 minutes. And the matchup is ripe for him to do it again. It's the one of the most obvious plays in my mind. It doesn't even take too much. You don't have to talk about all the play types, it doesn't matter because he's just been killing this line. When he sees this minutes, it doesn't matter if the team's good or not. When he sees this type of minutes, he kills them. And this is a really soft matchup for him. His best game of the season came against the Pacers. So that's one that was extremely obvious. The other one is Jalen Brunson. I spoke about Jalen Brunson already, but this is the angle for Jalen Brunson. This is open at 29.5. You can still catch a 28.5 in some places, but most places have this down to 27.5. It's to bet the under. He only scored 19 points against Brooklyn last time because he only took 14 shots. Only took 14 shots because they double teamed him so much and it ended up being a blowout. But if you look at historically, because this Brooklyn Nets team, I've said this before, sent a lot of double teams, yada, 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 to ball handlers, right? If you look at his head-to-head numbers with Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, 12, 17, 19. Like, he's not getting enough shots off to score 27.5 points. So you can just lean into history, lean into what's already happened, and just bet the under on Jalen Brunson. Like, it makes so much sense. It doesn't even require that much research. That's another one. That's the public steam is pushing that one around. And then we got the Bulls versus the Pelicans. And in this one is Derek Queen. Derek Queen, you can either look at his points and assists, or you can look at his whole PRA, to be honest. So Derek Queen's projected to play 32 minutes in this one. He's played 30-plus minutes in 3 straight games. He's had 43, 38, and 32 PRA, just filling up the stat sheet. Points, rebounds, assists. Now he's up against the Chicago Bulls, probably the softest matchup for centers in the league. The Bulls allow the 3rd most PRA to centers in the league. They get absolutely pumped by them. They fill up the stat sheet because the Bulls don't defend much at all. They get absolutely murdered in the restricted area, whether it's scoring or whether it's assists. They give up a ton of rebounds. Like, we look at boards, they allow the 5th most rebounds, 4th most rebounds to centers. You look at assists, they allow the 4th most assists to centers. They allow the most assists in the restricted area. If you look at points, they allow the most points in the restricted area, 3rd most points in the paint, 2nd most points to centers. It all just makes sense. And Derek Queen is trending right now because he's been doing so well in the last 3 games. So cupcake matchup, been killing it the last 3 games. Zion's back for that one, but it doesn't seem to matter to Derek Queen because even with Zion in the lineup, he's done a lot of damage as of late anyway. So you could say his better games were with Zion in the lineup. So, yeah, Derek Queen, a very obvious play as well. But public steam is moving these lines all over the joint. They're a little bit higher now than what they were when they first opened, but it makes sense. It makes so much sense. But anyway, apologies. Had to pause the recording just to clear my sinuses, but we're back. Those are the most popular players, I would say, because they're the easiest ones to research. But let's flick through each game, give you some different angles to consider if you wanted to. We've got Cleveland versus the Raptors. So I'm going all in on Scotty Barnes. So it probably means Brandon Ingram pops off here. But in all seriousness, this Raptors team, they tend to, I guess, double team. Not double. They do double team. That's what the coach likes to do. Like to double team the opposition's best player. Donovan Mitchell's been on a bit of a tear as of late. All right, we're back. Now, Donovan Mitchell, been killing it lately. He scored 30 plus in 5 out of his last 6 games. Scored 31 against the Raptors last time. Wasn't very efficient shooting the ball, but got to the free throw line a lot. That was a home game. Now he's on the road. Will he get the same whistle? I'm not too sure, but that 29.5. If anything, I'll probably lean to the under, which is pretty crazy. We got Evan Mobley. There's a trend here with Evan Mobley. He sucks and then he bounces back pretty well, but there's nothing on Evan Mobley that I absolutely love in this game. He only scored 7 points last time against the Raptors. I would not be surprised if he gives them 25, but again, I don't love it. It's just something that Evan Mobley does. We got the Pistons versus the Pacers, cupcake matchup here for a lot of these Pistons players. Can you really go past Cade Cunningham and get 10 assists? He's had 10 plus assists in 6 straight games now. It's got to get to a point where surely he's not stat padding, but he's going into these games trying to get 10 assists. Like a lot of this coincides with Jalen Duren's dominance. So the matchup for him to get assists is okay. He's had some difficult ones and easier ones at the same time, but Cade Cunningham's been balling at the moment. Let me know down below in the comment section if you're betting on Cade Cunningham to get some dimes. And then one that's a sneaky look could be Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris to cover his PRA. 18.5. This open at 17.5. Over in 5 out of 7 games. He's got a really cupcake matchup as well at the power forward slot. Then looking at the Pacers, I think there's only 3 people worth betting on the Pacers because even if they get blown out and they lose, you know that Siakam, Benedict Mathurin, and Andrew Nembhard are going to see higher usage. So Mathurin scored 20 plus points in every single game. Doesn't necessarily see really high volume. Nembhard and Siakam tend to do more of that. The matchup against the Pistons is a tough one. The Pistons don't give up a lot of points around the basket. So Mathurin pretty dependent on getting to the basket. Andrew Nembhard, probably somebody I'd probably lean towards. He had 15 points in his last game against Detroit, 32 minutes. Only took 10 shots in that game, though. He's had some higher volume games for sure since he's come back from his injury. So Andrew Nembhard, I don't mind him to go over and attack that drop coverage of Jalen Duren. Pascal Siakam, too hard to read, but look, he had 29 points in his last game against Detroit. He had barely any assists, had 7 boards. Pascal Siakam's got a good matchup to score points here. Makes sense that he goes over as well. Mavs versus the Heat. In terms of scoring, it's a little bit difficult. Tyler Hero coming back. What does that mean for everybody else? Norm Powell sees the lowest line he's seen all season. So if you're a hit rate better, I wouldn't bet Norm Powell just because his hit rate is great. Like that's a really low line for a reason. Hero's going to soak up some usage for sure. We got Jaime Jaquez Jr. Even though he comes off the bench, he should be impacted, but his assist prop could be interesting. 4.5 assists. He's been killing it as of late. 7 assists in 3 straight games. The matchup against the Mavs is not the best, but Jaquez really pushes things in transition. I spoke about Khalil Ware for Dallas. Man, take your pick. All these guys' lines are pretty similar, but this is a fast-paced matchup. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone like a Cooper Flagg can really fill up his PRA. Had a down game against Memphis. Cooper Flagg tends to play well every second game anyway. So in a really fast-paced game here against Miami, Cooper Flagg can get a lot of points, rebounds, and assists. So his PRA definitely has some interest of mine. Knicks versus the Nets. What do we have? We got MPJ, the usage rate king. Points line at 24.5. He's finished on 25 points quite a few times already this season. The matchup is a pretty good one. We know the Knicks give up a lot of points to spot-up shooters, but MPJ is more than just a spot-up shooter so far this season. I would not be surprised if some like a Noah Clowney or a Zaire Williams are the ones that pop off. These two guys are very dependent on spot-up shooting. So for Zaire Williams, 54% of his points come from the spot-up. And Noah Clowney, 43% of his points come from the spot-up. So Noah Clowney sucked in his last game against the Knicks. I actually bet him in his last game against the Knicks, and he absolutely sucked. 0 from 7, but the volume was there. I would not be surprised if Noah Clowney has a good game, actually. I could consider running that one back. We've got Terrence Mann and his assists potentially. That could be a look. Terrence Mann been diming up quietly. Not a point guard by any stretch of the imagination, but he has been getting it done. And you can see it right here. 3.5 assists is his line. He's been killing it in his last 3 games. 7, 6, and 5. Had 4 assists in his last game against New York, but he only played 18 minutes. As of late, he's been playing 20 plus minutes. So Terrence Mann over 3.5. It's juice. So the books are favoring his over, but that makes a lot of sense. And then with the Knicks, like I said, Brunson under points, Carl Anthony Towns over points. Soft matchup for Cat. He should get there. Spoke about Bridges. Jordan Clarkson to get some points. Actually, I don't mind. He had 11 points in his last game against Brooklyn, but only played 18 minutes. With OG out, he's played between 25 and 30 minutes. So more minutes, more opportunities in a good matchup. Jordan Clarkson, definitely someone who can get busy. Then we got the Bulls versus the Pelicans. Zion's got a great matchup, but Zion hasn't been overly aggressive as of late. Derek Queen's been getting busy. Zion has been quietly sleeping. I'm not saying to bet he's under because he can explode for 30 against a team like this whenever he wants to, but he's in cruise control at the moment. Jeremiah Fears has a good matchup to score some points here. 16.5 is a pretty steep line, though, but the matchup's a pretty good one for Jeremiah Fears. I will say that. Kobe White for the Bulls, scoring extremely well this season, but the one line that has my attention is his assists. This was at 4.5. It's moving to 5.5 now, so it's extreme plus money. But he's covered this 6 assist mark on every game this season, 8, 7, and 6. The Pelicans obviously not a great defensive team. They do give up quite a few assists, so Kobe White assists could be there. Josh Giddey can have a good game, and you're not going to make much money out of it because his line is now 9.5 rebounds and 9.5 assists. Pretty much, they're saying he's going to get a triple double. So tough to bet on Giddey with lines that high. Vucevic has another soft matchup here against the Pels. Should score well, should get assists, should get rebounds. I think the best angle here is probably to take his PRA. Unless you don't think he can score today, then his rebounds and assists could be good. The matchup is fantastic for him. Then we got the Nuggets versus the Grizzlies. Jared Jackson Jr., game time decision. We don't know if he's going to play. Peyton Watson, been seeing a ton of minutes. I think his PRA is the best way to approach him. No Gordon, no Brown. What else do we have? One I was thinking about was actually Nikola Jokic to make 3 3-pointers. Crazy plus money. And this season, he hasn't been shy getting the shots up. Like, if you look at his 3-point attempts, 4.9 attempts this season. Last season, where's he at? Last season, 5.5 attempts per game. And then the season before that, 3.6. So he's getting volume up. And he's up against Zach Edey. And Zach Edey kind of just sits right under the basket. The Grizzlies are the 4th most attempts. And centers, not as of late since Zach Edey's been there, but centers on the season have been shooting a lot of threes against them. As of late, they haven't been because it's been Daniel Gafford and Luke Cornett as his main matchup. But the Joker should find himself with some pretty good looks out on the perimeter. I would not be surprised if he nails 3 3-pointers. So that was one that really caught my attention. Then we head over to the Blazers versus the Bucks. Not many lines in this one. Shaden Sharp's a game time decision, so most of the lines aren't really available. But Denny Avdija assists is one thing that catches my attention. 6.5 is relatively low. His assist line, 6.5 in these 2 games where he had 11 and 13. Then even against OKC in a tough matchup, it was at 7.5 at one point, got bet down to 6.5. So if this stays at 6.5, much better matchup here against the Milwaukee Bucks. They are the 5th most assists in the restricted area. I would not be surprised if Denny Avdija has a good game. And then Donovan Clingan, he'd been playing extremely well with the extra minutes, been dominant. Then he ran into OKC, and then he got absolutely flogged. But scoring, rebounding, he's been doing both of those as of late with all the injuries that they have. So he's one to keep an eye on. Rockets versus Suns. Dylan Brooks was one that caught my attention. That's his closing line numbers. 9 out of 11 games he's hit. But the look on Dylan Brooks here is purely volume. The Rockets give up a whole lot of points to spot up shooters. Dylan Brooks is not afraid to let that thing fly. He's averaging 21 points per game this season. And I wouldn't be surprised if he averages the same number of shots as Devin Booker. He just lets that shit go. So that's one that I considered. Colin Gillespie could be a sneaky look. Been performing well over his last 4. Grayson Allen might be back for this one. We'll see. But even if not, Colin Gillespie is going to see a lot of Reed Shepherd in there when they play. So Colin Gillespie with a really soft defensive matchup in that respect. So Wouldn't be surprised to see if we see some white on white crime. Spoke about Şengün. Reed Shepherd. Reed Shepherd sees the biggest jump in his points with Kevin Durant off the court. The problem here is Reed Shepherd has a pretty difficult matchup, I'd say, against Phoenix. Plus, we're seeing the highest line he's had in his career at 17.5. But in saying that, just scored 27 points against the Denver Nuggets in 37 minutes. So there could be high upside there for Reed Shepherd, but the matchup is definitely not the best. Jazz versus the Warriors. Can't go wrong with Steph Curry. He's been killing it as of late until he just signs his shoe deal. I don't know if he has or not, but he's been just balling out of his mind. 14-point spread here. The Warriors might blow them out, but 3-point shooters against Utah all day. Give me that. Another spot I'd like to target is centers against Utah, but then you'd have to bet on something like Draymond. He's questionable on whether he plays or not, so I don't know what happens there. Keontae George, points and assists. They look decent. No, actually, his assists look really good. The Golden State Warriors give up the third most assists to point guards in the league, so that's one to factor in. They also give up a lot of assists to centers, so Nurkic to get some dimes, 3.5 for Nurk, second most assists to centers in the league. But Nurkic has been very consistent rebounding the ball, assist-wise. Not sure if I can get there or not, but it is a plus money play. What else have we got? My nose being congested as hell. The longer I talk, the worse it gets. But we keep pushing on. Last game, Wolves versus the Kings. This is the third time they've played each other, and I just can't get a read on this game. No Sabonis, so you'd think Westbrook pops off, but he's been relatively inconsistent. He just had a great game against Denver. Line's only at 13.5. One that did get my attention was for Zach LaVine to score some points. Zach LaVine been terrible as of late for the most part, but in his 2 games against Minnesota, 26 to 25 points. That was one of his old teams. He's killed them in the last 2. The line's at 19.5. If he comes in with that motivation and aggression, then he can definitely get there once again. We've got Anthony Edwards performed well in both games against Sacramento, 26 and 30. The matchup is ideal for Anthony Edwards. Blowout was always the risk, but Sacramento Kings at home probably keep this tighter, I'd say. And if they can, Anthony Edwards could pop off, but I haven't been a big fan of betting on Anthony Edwards this season. I'm actually more likely to bet on someone like Rudy Gobert, as much as I hate him, but he's had 2 really strong games against the Kings, 19 and 11 points. The Kings get smoked by centers, most points to centers in the league. They get buried in the paint. Rudy should be dunking all over them, but the Minnesota Timberwolves might not pass Rudy the ball, so that's my only concern with that one. But Dante DiVincenzo as well, he killed them in the last game, scoring, diming up. A lot of them have good matchups here, so I want to really take your time and consider. Big slates like this suck. The exciting thing is you can build some outrageous parlays, but awfully difficult to research and try to break down what are the best bets to play. So it does get difficult, but my best advice is if there's games impacted by some injury reports, just wait for the injury reports because you get screwed by late news. But look, long video. I am fatiguing. Still not 100% yet, but I shall get there. But if you made it this far in the video, I honestly do appreciate it. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me, helps out with the algorithm. If you're betting on this slate, I wish you guys the best of luck. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice on the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.